Thank you, Andy, for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. Would you please tell me a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Gong. Thanks for having me. My name is Andy Beatman. I'm a senior product marketing manager at Microsoft, specifically within Azure, within the AI marketing department, covering all B2B AI products and solutions, specifically vision and speech APIs, which allow developers, data scientists, and businesses to take advantage of APIs to support speech to text, text to speech, custom neural voices, computer vision, image analysis, things like that.
That is super cool. Andy, so on LinkedIn, it says that you've been with Microsoft for about 6 months now. Can you tell me your first reaction when you first got that job offer?
I was grateful. I mean, I never take any job offer, any job that you accept for granted. It's like
Yeah.
you're against the best in the industry, and people are fired up and really excited. So I was stoked. I mean, I was really excited.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted the job. I wanted the role. I wanted to work on the specific products that I landed. So that was great. So I was locked in. So I wasn't, surprised, right? But I was because I was felt prepared, but
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
definitely grateful.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned something about, having, the process and all that. So I think my natural next question was, like, tell me about the process of getting into this company. So maybe can you start from like, did you apply or did someone reach out to you? If you applied, did you have a referral? And a little bit about the, interview process as well.
Yeah, of course. I've been at Amazon for over 6 years and was really interested in seeing what else was out there and seeing what I was worth and other perspectives, both people I'm working with and the companies I work for. And I went on LinkedIn and updated on the back end that I was like interested, like
Yeah.
not I think I put the softer option, but that I was like interested in seeing what was out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my profile was pretty optimized to show
Product
up on
marketing. Yeah.
what I do. And I was contacted pretty quickly. So
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't apply to Microsoft directly, but I was reached out by a recruiter, and was put into the process, was which was great actually. I felt supported by the recruiting team, and I felt supported by even the hiring managers and the folks that were doing the interviews. Big emphasis on your strengths and how you can bring your strengths to the company. So after some both written and verbal communication with recruiter, including some written examples too, not just like email
Yeah.
communication, was brought in for a super hiring, mega hiring day, which is this
Okay.
new process for GTM teams
Yeah.
where they'll have you, rather than being interviewing for one specific role with one specific hiring
Oh.
manager, it's like your pool for a few roles that are open.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and went into that process and had a loop of interviews, like most of the tech companies. And that loop was not the end. Then there
Oh.
was interviews with hiring managers, which was sort of a two-way, like just trying to understand
Yeah.
the role is the right fit for you. And I met with two hiring managers at that
Okay.
point, one within data storage and one within AI, and was fortunate enough to get some
Yeah.
offers from both. So I had the luxury of a choice, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But from recruiter contact to start date was maybe 2 months, two and a
Okay.
half months. Yeah. So
Pretty long.
pretty long. Yeah, it was pretty long.
Okay.
And then it's been great so far. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that sort of that comment around focus on strengths remains
Okay.
true. There's a lot of trust right away,
Yeah.
a huge focus on like finding those few big rocks to focus on, be judicious with your time, which we all can relate to, feeling like you're spread a little thin. It's hard to
Okay.
say no sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's been really great so far.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's interesting how they do those hiring. It seems like it's like a trial for a football club, and then you kind of go into whatever club that wants you. Um, can you tell me a little bit about the interview process? Like, what were the questions? I mean, you don't really have to
Yeah.
tell me the exact questions, but like, were there like mostly behavioral, or like were they, strategic, like consulting type of questions, or like, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it was a balance. I mean, I definitely didn't feel like it went one way. I mean, I knew that I could tell that maybe that the folks that were asking questions were maybe had different areas they were thinking about, which is like how that is at Amazon as well. And I felt like in general, though, I was getting questions about my experience, some problem solving questions as well,
Mm,
which I could tell was just how to see how I think, right?
yeah,
Regardless of the answer, which I love that. I mean, I think in a day of business, there should be room for like open discussion and debate over ideas, even if they're not in a sprint, right, or in a roadmap. Just because you learn new things every day, it's good to talk about what
of
that means for
course,
your business, you know.
of course.
But I had a few questions that stood out to me, and I shout outs to the hiring manager that made me an offer. Um, because he asked me, well, how would you explain AI
Ooh,
uh, to a CEO, to to a class of college students, to high school students,
yeah.
to a 5-year-old.
Oh
And
wow.
I, I had that moment, like right when he asked the question, where I'm like, all right, here we go. Like this is, first of all, I'm built for a question like that because I know that it's like a twofold.
Of
First of
course.
all, are you inspired by the products and services that you're interviewing for? Are you able to evangelize those products and services, right? Like in any product marketing role, you need to be able to really
Yep.
read the
Yeah,
services,
yeah.
because if you're going to position it and build messaging and do audience
Exactly.
targeting and do a marketing strategy, like you should be excited about it personally, I think, in some way. And for me, when I got that question, I'm like, all right, I'm going to answer this more like a case study for the
Mm,
CEO and the college students, seeing this as a market. There's a lot of opportunity to help automate process, not replace jobs, but improve jobs,
mm.
deliver better experiences for customers, right? Like just do more exciting things now that we have years and years of all this digital data. But then when it comes to the 5-year-old, I think I said magic probably too many times, but but of course, when I finished, the hiring manager's like, that's, I have a 4-year-old son, right? Like, I try to talk to him about my day. And if I can't explain it to him, right, then there might be a problem, which I think which is good. It's like being customer obsessed, or just
Yeah.
being like thinking about a better future too,
You work as a senior product marketing manager at Azure. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah. So, great question, and it changes. It feels like it changes every day, but at its core, I'm really focused on helping bring new products to market. So, like working with product teams and engineering teams to ship new products. Usually, those products start with some customer challenge or problem that we're looking to achieve. I work in B2B space, right? But there's always the
Mm,
focus on the end consumer, and that's like the big focus, right? Like
gotcha.
seeing AI and everything that you use, all the apps that you use. So bringing those products to market, doing everything from announcement content to making sure that we're getting our community to talk about it. And then there's also this element of like, okay, like we have these products that are in market, and how are we making sure that we're telling stories on behalf of our customers? And that's really like, we have customers that are excited to share how they're using AI, and we want to tell that story. And
Yeah.
we'll get out of the way, right? Like we'll tell that customer story, which is the business, and then we'll talk about the impact on the end user. And that's all that I care about, right? Like it's great if we make the sale, but
Mhm.
we want to see how the technology comes to life in the market in ways that inspire. I know for me, that's how I think. I love thinking about the future beyond my time on Earth. I love thinking about things beyond just like a dystopian future, and what is a world where technology is to our
Yep.
benefit. I love IoT. I love machine learning. I love AI. There's so much left side of your brain when you're having to tell stories, right? So if we're talking about a tool where you can say 100 things, and now I can reproduce my voice saying anything, right? You can instantly think about why that could be weird, right? And I agree with that. So as a product marketer, I'm happy that at Azure you have to apply with a use case and go through a rigorous, checks and balances to make sure that what you're using it for is entertaining and is for the benefit of an end user, right? Like that sort of product. How can we tell that story, right? Beyond just launching it, how do we work with big brands that are using these voices to do things like scale audio ads, right? So like when you're on Spotify and you're hearing an ad, oftentimes like it's leveraging AI to train an existing voice actor. So how do we bring those stories to life working with PR? So really it's like it's on the back end, working with engineering and product and just trying to figure out what are the right products and features to bring to market for customers. And then it's working with PR and working with brand on, well, now what's the bigger story that we have now with all of our customers?
So Andy, you worked as a product marketer before, and you work as a product marketer now at Microsoft. Was there any sort of learning curve? And if yes, like how did you overcome those?
Yeah, coming from Amazon to Microsoft, there was definitely some nuances, like cultural nuances within Microsoft, like the way that we deliver recommendations. Like at Amazon, it's notorious for documents, like six. I mean, honestly, like if you look at an Amazon 6-pager, it might be longer than some dissertations that I've seen. Because it's like a size 6 font or whatever. Like my vision got worse reviewing docs. But no, it's great though, because it gets you to go so deep, right? And once the recommendation's delivered and everyone's already aligned, it's like there's no questions asked. Microsoft is very much of a like let's recommend some really great ideas. Whether it's something that you planned into or it's something that's point in time.
Okay.
And let's get some consensus, and then let's figure out the details after. You go figure those out after. So there's in some ways, like I actually, in my first few recommendations, first month, I gave too much information. Like the feedback was, this is great analysis, great data to support why we're doing it, like great projections, but it's like it's all good, but just what's the idea? Why does this idea matter over other ideas? Just tell me quickly. And it's in PowerPoint. Like we're using company product, and it's the focus is on really how this idea can change lives,
okay,
and how it can be important. And I love that, because in some ways I feel like I'm spending less time worried about having certain details that I know a certain person needs to see. Now, on the other hand, I love the fact that it's like by committee, right? When you write these docs. So it normalizes the process in some ways. It's not just like your manager said, great idea, go do it. It's like their peers also agreed. There's no surprises for an engineering team later. So there was like, in a way, there was like this less is more, I would say, in this new role. But I started my career at TripAdvisor, which most of us think about for like travel reviews, but the company was built by engineers and product folks and folks who went through the MBA process early.
For sure.
And everything you worked on was a product, whether it was an ad on a map, or it was like the way that you did SEO, or the way that you thought about the review form process, right? So I got early on, I mean, right out of school, I was able to sort of see this idea that you have to really put some time against the idea, even if it's a no-brainer, even if it's the right thing to do. It's still really important to do some risk assessment, build relationships with finance and folks that are looking at the performance data. Because at least like if you do something and it's not successful, at least you can say like, well, hey, we looked at this a certain way, and we are at least comfortable with the bet we took. So I think like in comparing, Amazon and Microsoft, I think it's important to say that the rigor is high in both, but I think where the rigor comes into play just changes.
Gotcha. What do you like the most, and what do you like the least about your role?
Oh, that's a good question. Right now, I would say that something I struggle with in everything that I do is like, you want to like center yourself on what's most important. So like what I love about product marketing is I get to be really close with engineering and products. I get to know
Mm-hmm.
the product really well. I get to be part of testing and both like like myself testing product, looking at user testing.
Yep.
But then I also get to like sort of be the evangelist and like figure out how do I position this in the market. So in some ways, and then be responsible for like for things like marketing traffic
Mm-hmm.
and signups
Mm-hmm.
and conversions. So I really like how I get to sort of be involved in everything. But I think that also always has this pressure, this feeling of how do I like find that more, like is my
Yeah.
product manager, like is that, do I want to be a product manager, right? Because I feel like, okay, I get to define what this thing is. So before the product marketer comes in and builds this vision around what we say in the market, I'm actually thinking about what matters for this product.
Gotcha. Okay.
Sometimes, I've had a few roles within search, had a few really good years in SEO and paid search. And I like that because I felt like, okay, I'm not owning the product at all, but I know the demand. I'm able to actually dictate that demand. I can
Mm-hmm.
get in front of people searching for things that I know my product represents, right? But in those cases, I always felt like, well, I'm probably not going to be able to influence the product roadmap too much because the data I have in search is so valuable. What are
Mm-hmm.
people looking for? What markets are they searching in? Are people paying for these terms as an indicator of demand in the market? But I'm so far away from the product. So, to answer it's kind of both one and the same. I
Yeah.
love that I can be an influencer. I love that I can work in digital. I can work in real life. Like I can do marketing content. I can support an event, built doing product demos. Um, uh, but I'm also like always just how I am. I'm always thinking like, how can I really, you know, really live this thing the most.
Yeah.
So I think now in the space I'm in, I feel really like I found for right now the perfect thing where I get to um, I can join every engineering meeting that I'd like
Mm-hmm.
and really understand how these products are being built. And I
Mm-hmm.
can also sit with PR and talk about what's the next story that we want to pitch
Yeah.
to a few big publishing companies and see if they're willing to talk about this in the market. And I think for that, like, and in some ways, like I confuse my family and friends. Like, so what are you working on? Like, explain this thing. Like, I don't get it. And then I think, okay, next Thanksgiving, you're gonna be like, I get it. And that's a good litmus, right? Like
Yeah.
if I can, that's a challenge accepted. So
Yeah, if you can explain AI to a 5-year-old, for example, or your family, that's definitely something. So it's going to be my last question. Advice for those who want to join Microsoft as a product marketer.
well, I think being curious is really, really important, right? Like when I was interviewing, whenever you get the question of like, do you have any questions for us? I'm always like, what's been like what have you guys been talking about in your WBRs that's been like a big challenge? Like what are the things that are kind of, keeping you up at night or whatever it is, right? And I feel like for me going into the interview process, I had all my experience buttoned up. I make sure that everything I've done, I've have prepared as a case study. Honestly, like everything from a huge strategy with a $10 million budget when I had
Mhm.
direct reports to just like a change we want to make in how we're forecasting, right? Like all of that, like every time I've done anything, I make sure I go back and I think about, well, what was the customer opportunity? What was the business opportunity? Like how did we go about doing it?
Yeah.
What were the results? What is something we learned? And having all those together, plus just a curiosity for the
Mm.
products that I'm interviewing to potentially work on, for me is a great recipe. It's so competitive though, like it's such a competitive space. Like I feel though, like being true to yourself, being your authentic self is really important. Like the person who hired me into Microsoft, who will be a lifelong mentor, said, don't ever be apologetic for who you are, right? Like that's like even in interviewing, we have this tendency to want to be like the perfect version of ourselves. No,
Yeah.
actually, just talk about your experiences in a way that you feel happy about. Maybe it's the perfect way to talk about it, but be yourself. Like don't shy away from that, right? Because it's going to come out. Who you are is going to come out, and that helps build culture and environments, right? Like diverse perspective. So I think if interviewing at Microsoft, whether it's product marketing, whether it's with anything, I think just being really prepared. I think like to get a job is a job. I'm everyone that you talk to alludes to this preparation, and I mean, even like getting on this chat here, right? Like thinking a little bit before about, what am I proud of in my career, and like, what are the things that I feel like are important to talk about, right? Like I was managing it most of my time at Amazon, and I love managing because I love leading. I love coaching. I don't love managing. I love coaching and leading. I'm not doing that at Microsoft. It's a hard, I think, a harder path to manage. But I'm also loving getting to just, deep dive my products and feel like I'm an expert, and then hopefully get to build a team in the long run. And to do that, just like getting the job, I'll prepare a case on why that'll be beneficial to the end, for the end, right? So not just for myself. So I think that just the preparation plus that, it's almost like that wonder, like in this space, it's easy to have wonder, but I think in any space you're in, it's like, take a step back for a second. Like in digital, you can literally do something and change it and measure it and say, we're going to do this times 10 now. And I want more money to go do it. Like, it's just it's easy. And and that's the fun part, but you don't project the success, right? Like, I think a lot of times there's that self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, I want to do this thing. I want to make it look good. It's going to help me advance. Like, well, there should be a customer reason to do it. And, but once you do it right, definitely push harder and harder and hard. Like, I am not afraid to say to a manager, like, I know that you don't want to do this, but we have a million reasons to do it. So that's not going to stop me from doing it.
Yeah. No, super, super awesome comments. Hey, Andy, that was all for today. Thank you so much for your time and your insights.
Young, thank you. Yeah, this was a pleasure. I miss working with you. Let's definitely be in touch.
Yes.
But keep doing what you're doing, man. This is a great series. Everyone benefits from it. It's a good SEO strategy too. But any time in the future, always happy to chat. If you're doing follow-ups, where are they now in 10 years with a VR headset? Let me know.
We'll do. Thank you, Andy.